Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. He's Teddy Covers. My name is Peter Loshak. This is the regular daily show that I do every weekday at 10:30 Eastern Time. Of course, Teddy Covers, industry legend, joining us all the way from Vegas. Where do you live, right? Vegas, normally, right. Lives in Vegas, but coming all the way down to Costa Rica and joining us in studio all this week. And Teddy Covers yesterday gave 4 picks in this show, 2 wins and 2 pushes. Very nice, right?
No argument.
And the low-hanging fruit, there were 2 of them yesterday, 1 win and 1 push. So I'm trying to, get my mojo back in MLB. I'm focused. My hat is on backwards, Teddy. I'm really focusing. I'm not smiling like a spaz. Another thing that we're going to try to do in this show, Teddy Covers, is I also try to keep my mechanics of my presentation in top form at all times. And yesterday I watched back our show, and a lot of great information. It's great that you're here, but I think your presence threw me a little bit because I annoyed the crap out of myself yesterday.
Don't you hate that when you watch your videos and you're like, oh, I did this. Oh my God, it makes you nuts. So,
and the viewers very, very helpfully point those things out to me a lot of the times, and it really, I really take their advice to heart, and I work on what they say. And yesterday, I don't even need to be told. I had a lot of nervous verbal tics yesterday that annoyed the crap out of me. But the picks were good and the advice was good.
My pick wasn't good yesterday.
Yes, it wasn't. And I hate to, I don't want to be a dick here, Teddy Covers, but I kind of knew it. I thought Jameson Taillon was going to have a good game. Whether that meant that Pittsburgh was a good bet as a favorite is a different story. But I definitely thought Taillon was going to have a good game.
And he did.
Yes, he did. Absolutely. All right, Teddy Covers. So let's try this show to be as unannoying as possible, to have as few verbal tics as possible, and to give winning picks, and to give good advice. Thanks for all the positive comments. And the first comment here is from our friend Huang Zhou from China, who yesterday said that he wanted to fade Masahiro Tanaka so much against the Angels, and he said that if the Yankees won, he would not eat rice for 1 whole month. But he said it in funnier broken English than that. Today he has a comment. Okay, I am eat bread for a month. Yes, thank you. Thank you. He's a man of his word. He's a man of his incredibly broken and funny word. Right?
Sure. Bread is bread or rice.
What do you think about Masahiro Tanaka? Was that something that we should have anticipated, that he was, going to have a relatively good start?
Well, we know that the one problem that he's had is with the home run ball.
Right, yes.
And when we talked about it on yesterday's show, we said this might be the right lineup in the right stadium to avoid that.
So going forward, what are you expecting in general from Tanaka? Is it a case-by-case basis? I mean, because it seems like he either has a quite good start or gets absolutely shellacked, which can be nice because then you can just bet on the volatility and take run lines, whether you're betting against him or on him. What do you expect from Tanaka going forward? I didn't check where his next start is, but...
I mean, the thought process for me, Tanaka, really hasn't changed off the one start last night.
Right.
I would be much more inclined to back him in a game where he was up against a lesser lineup in a pitcher-friendly park than I would be to back him against a potent lineup in a hitter's park.
Right.
I mean, I really think there may be that type of dichotomy for Tanaka moving forward.
Right. Okay. So there are some pitchers, for example, Bronson Arroyo, right, who's pretty much going to get vulnerable to getting shelled even against the worst lineup, even in a pitcher-friendly park. And yesterday was Bronson Arroyo Day. Yes, yesterday was Bronson Arroyo Day. And once again, if you had just been fading Bronson Arroyo no matter what in any situation, you would have been on him yesterday in cash. But I begged off it because I thought maybe he would be better against San Diego. Of course, that didn't happen. But so you're saying that Masahiro Tanaka is very, very different, a very different animal, that he is entirely capable of having, good starts in the future mixed in with his shellackings.
I wouldn't mention Arroyo and Tanaka in the same breath.
Absolutely.
There's different calibers of pitcher.
All right. Yes, Teddy Covers. Show is starting off pretty good, and let's start things off with one of my low-hanging fruit plays that I think I'm going to give. And when I looked at this game last night, I said, all right, I'm going to have to give this one as a low-hanging fruit. Teddy Covers might mock me to my face and call me a square. But, I thought about it and I sat there and I was like, I'm going to think about this for about 8 or 10 minutes. Like, no, I have to do it. I'm going to do it. I like it. And it is going to be taking Boston -1 as a huge favorite with Price against Lively. Now, the money line part is up in the 240s. The run line part is in the -130. So that works out to just shy of -200 for a -1 line. But Lively, I don't think is ready for the show right now. He hasn't. I think he's had 2 starts and struck out like 1 or 2 guys. Price is coming off of course, a terrible start in Yankee Stadium, which I think, as we know, is somewhat forgivable because the Yankees' offense obviously awesome, and Price always struggles at Yankee Stadium. I am kind of a believer in Price going forward. Philly, of course, the worst team in MLB in terms of ROI on the road after last night's loss, about minus 40%. It's a high line, but Boston -1 at about minus 190. Teddy covers. What do you think?
I'm not betting the Phillies. Let's put it that way.
That sounds like
it'd be Boston or pass. And if you're going to play the Red Sox, I have no argument with your assessment of breaking into two bets: one on the money line, one minus the runner.
All right, so that's going to be a pick and a low-hanging fruit pick at that. The money line part of that, minus 237. The run line part of that will be from, let's see, Pinnacle at minus 126. So that'll work out to be roughly, minus 190-ish. I did make that one of my 3-unit bets in the contest, a 3-unit pick on Boston. That's how. Although I'm 2-1 on my 3-unit picks in the contest. This is my 4th one, and one of my 3-unit bets that lost was a favorite of about minus 160. That was when Tanner Rourke was at home against Texas, against I believe it was Cashner, and Rourke and Washington, of course, lost. I got swept in that series. Sure. You remember that start by any chance?
Texas played good ball last year, but no, I don't remember the start.
Okay, it was a few games ago. It was Rourke, who in general is a guy that I don't mind betting on, even as a big favorite, a reliable guy, against Cashner, a guy I'm looking to fade. But Cashner's actually a guy who, with not that many strikeouts and not great peripherals, has been getting results most of his starts.
We were asking me yesterday, can that Texas momentum carry over? It clearly did last night. So the Rangers are playing good ball right now.
Yes, they certainly are. And the Houston game tonight is interesting. It didn't have an overnight line, but we can talk about it because the line did come out, and I'm thinking maybe Houston might be a good play tonight. All right, another game that someone already mentioned. As a possible low-hanging fruit, I'm not sure what I think about it, is the over in Oakland and Miami with Cotton and Uranus starting. And, of course, both Cotton and Uranus struggling badly. Although Cotton in his last start, it was one of those starts where he was actually pretty good for most of his innings, except for one inning where he gave up 4 runs. Not that matters, but, that's damning with faint praise or whatever. But at first glance, Miami over, or at least the first half over, looks tempting. What do you think about that?
No argument whatsoever.
No argument.
I mean, that's one that I would put that in the low-hanging fruit category.
Right, and someone else also mentioned that, and I would also be thinking about, thing is, Urena does still have good stuff. He has a mid-90s heat, right? And Jarrell Cotton also he's just so inconsistent. And in his last start, again, most of his innings were good. Most of his at-bats were good. It's just he got blown up, and that's, a lot of major league pitchers are like that. Their bad starts are due to one inning or one series of
sure. If a pitcher can't pitch his way out of trouble,
right?
His stats can look great, but the one inning where guys get on and he gets into trouble, it's a problem. But you were talking about a first 5 there for
Yes.
I wouldn't bet first 5 in that because I don't trust either bullpen, especially the A's bullpen. The A's bullpen's been problematic, so it's not a situation where you would expect, all right, the starters get blown up, and now you're going to see zeros, the rest of the way. It's a type of game where they may be chipping runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th as well.
Right. Although, according to my numbers, if I'm correct, let me just remind myself here, the Oakland bullpen has made a significant turn for the better recently, and I believe, yes, they. Let me see. Yeah, my numbers say that they have a bullpen edge right now over Miami. I'm not sure if that would mean that. I expect them to be good. They have improved, the A's bullpen, according to my numbers here. And the A's are also the worst fielding team in baseball as well.
Yeah. Which is such an underrated stat. I mean, how many guys look at fielding stats when they make up? Yeah, sure.
I mean,
in terms of how it relates to the pitching staff,
right?
Very much. So you say, oh, what's wrong with this pitcher? Well, what's wrong with him? Why did he decline so much from last year? You look at the Cubs. The Cubs are a classic example. Last year, elite defensive team. This year, not so much.
Yes.
You lose Dexter Fowler and you put Schwarber in the field, and that's a big drop-off. And the numbers show it, and the pitching numbers show it. Everyone blames the pitchers, but it may well be the defense, the lack of ability to make great plays. Right. Look at Minnesota this year, as an example. The defense has been off the charts. And how do the Twins have those good? These a handful of pitchers that haven't put up those type of stats, and all of a sudden are at this stage in their career. Defense is a part of it for sure.
That's right. Now, I pay attention to defense. I don't quantify it, although I'd like to start doing that in the future. But if you look at like bullpen rankings, there's usually a pretty high correlation, unless you have a team with a massive offense and kind of a subpar bullpen. There's usually a pretty good correlation between bullpen ERA or whatever stat you're looking at and a team that is at the top of the ROI standings. But if you look at the defensive rankings for this year, there's really not a high correlation between the good defensive teams and the good or bad defensive teams and the profitable or unprofitable teams.
That's another great point for people.
Yes, high five.
There's no question. If you're looking for one stat that correlates closely with ROI, you can go around it. The one stat that matters most, bullpen ERA. I mean, it's very real.
I'm getting comments from an industry legend here. Compliments from an industry legend.
At the end of the, go back at the end of the season. Every year, you're going to see the top. The teams that are top 10 in bullpen ERA. The top 5 profitable teams are all going to be there.
Yes.
The bottom 10 teams in bullpen ERA, the bottom 5 profitable teams are all going to be there every year. You can go back and look. I mean, it's really like clockwork. So we spend all this time talking about starters. The more time you can handicap bullpens, I know there's randomness in everything, but the more time you can spend isolating good and bad bullpens, that time is well spent.
And just to compare it to defense, there's a lot of sort of poor. There's a high poor correlation. There's a poor correlation between teams that are in the top or the bottom of the defensive rankings and where they are in the ROI standings.
Yeah, no correlation. But the defensive numbers do correlate somewhat with the ERA numbers for teams, or even advanced metric numbers, the FIP and the XFIP numbers from year to year. When you see year-to-year differences from a pitching staff, defense often has something to do with it.
Okay, here's another. I just glanced at the comments. This guy Wang Zhou is like my personal hero. His next comment is, "We need to work hard to beat bookies. You guys will become public hero." We might, yes, and I love it. Yeah, exactly. He used the singular hero to describe both Teddy and I. Teddy and I, yes, we do need to work hard to beat the bookies. We might become public heroes one day, Teddy.
I wouldn't mind being public hero. Good role.
All right. Wang Zhou, love you, man. Love you, man. No homo, yes homo, maybe homo, whatever. Love you very much, Wang Zhou from China. Thanks for all your funny comments. All right. So, let's see. All right. Teddy covers. I've given one pick today so far. It is a low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of other interesting games. Have you ever had a chance to look over this card and have some opinions to share with us?
I got a couple. Sure.
Let's hear. Hit us with one, Teddy.
Well, I mean, we already talked about the one with Oakland, Miami. I like that game.
You do.
I do. And I'm going to go right back to the well. I know it didn't work yesterday. I don't want Garrett Cole.
Right.
I want Tyler Chatwood. The Rockies are the better of these two teams, and I'm getting a plus price. To me, that is a better play than yesterday's low.
Oh, yes.
A priori, before the game is better.
Yes.
And I look at Colorado as it's rock solid.
Yeah, this is a very different situation from yesterday. I'm definitely not on Pittsburgh here. I'd be leaning Colorado. The big question mark here, obviously Chatwood has been great on the road. The big question mark here is Cole. What's up with him? How much of what's happened to him is fundamental? How much of it is due to a luck? How much is he likely to be able to bounce back? Now, if you ask him, I guess no pitcher's ever going to be like, yeah, I'm having some fundamental issues, but they keep throwing me out there, so I'm probably going to get crushed again next start. But if you ask him, he says he feels fine. He doesn't know why he's getting hit, and he expects to do better going forward. What do you think, Teddy?
I would expect him to say that.
Yeah, right.
And when you look at Cole, every number's down. Velocity's down, the control is down. He's not the same pitcher that he was.
Right.
And until again, I don't mind betting something on the come. And when you see signs, all right, this guy's about to turn it around. All right, you make a bet, maybe 2, maybe 3, in an effort to try to get it before the market even notices. With Cole right now, no. He's said that he's been fine for weeks and for months, and it hasn't come together for him. I don't trust that this start is going to be the one against that Rockies offense that's going to turn it around.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I would have a vague lean towards Colorado here as well. And I want to be taking the under here again, although I don't know with Cole. Cole might get hit. So maybe the answer might be a Pittsburgh team total under. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't argue with you.
That might be a nice pick there. Let me just check. Although Pittsburgh can be productive. Let me just check what that is. I mean, I'm sure it's 4. Yeah, 4 plus 117. All right. That's an interesting opinion there. All right. I do have a lukewarm endorsement of your Colorado play there. Let's see what else has caught my eye. Well, one thing that did catch my eye is Arizona and Detroit. Greinke against Farmer. I was thinking about the under. Of course, Detroit can have a huge lineup. So can Arizona, but Arizona it's much worse on the road, and Detroit can be a pitcher-friendly park at times. And Greinke, of course, coming off of his next baby being born, generally pitching quite well this year. Although 3 of his last 5 starts were not good. And Farmer, a guy who had high expectations early in his career, underwhelmed, underperformed, but in his 2 starts so far this year has been lights effing out. What do we? What'd you say?
Gave me pitched last week.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Wait, Farmer?
Farmer.
No. He's had 2 starts that were great.
I said incredible.
Oh, okay. I thought you said. Okay. Unfortunately, so you were expecting him to get hit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. So what do you think? Do you think that continues? Teddy covers?
The only caveat that I make there, and I think it's important to note, when you look at Arizona's road-home dichotomy offensively, remember how differently Chase Field plays when the roof is open.
Yes.
And in April and May, pretty consistently, they put up huge offensive numbers. And then when the roof closes at home, the roof closes over the summer, that dichotomy between what you saw at home and on the road tends to evaporate. So if your rationale is this team's hitting so much worse on the road, that may not be the case moving forward.
No, my rationale is just that I expect a good start from Greinke, and the big question is, what do we expect from Farmer? I think, obviously long-term, he's going to regress. Remember when Joe Musgrove came up and was just lights out for like 3 or 4 starts, and now he's like, mediocre at best. That's probably what we're going to see from Farmer, but in this start, what do we expect from him?
Well, I mean, the irony is that this total's sitting at 9, 9 to the over. So the markets aren't respecting Farmer a whole lot. The markets aren't respecting Greinke a whole lot in this spot. This is, if these guys are on their game, we're looking at 8.5.
Right.
So, from a market standpoint, that certainly stands out.
All right, so I'm leaning unders in that one. I'll make a decision on an official pick or not on that one at some point during this show. Next game that's interesting, let's talk about it. Teddy covers Clayton Kershaw against Bauer. 3 starts ago, Clayton Kershaw had a bad start. Then his next 2 starts were the usual. Clayton Kershaw, awesome. And Trevor Bauer, give him another guy who had, was a top, I think he was a #1 pick, top prospect, and underwhelmed for much of his career severely. Has been better this year, but still a guy who is pretty vulnerable, and feels like the Dodgers it's a big favorite line at -160, but not a massive favorite line here. What about the Dodgers -1? Maybe the Dodgers first 5. Do you like Kershaw here, and do you think the Dodgers hit Bauer here?
I'll tell you the truth about Clayton Kershaw. I don't know that I bet Clayton on or against him for 3 or 4 years.
Really?
Yep. I leave it alone.
Yes, that's interesting. I said the exact same thing.
Strasburg, I do the same thing with it.
Yes.
When you're talking about the aces that you don't want to stand, I don't want to stand in front of Clayton Kershaw. I know how good this guy is. He's a monster. He's been favored now 52 consecutive starts.
Right.
And if you bet on him in all of those starts, you're up about $2.
Right.
You're not making any money betting on Clayton Kershaw long term. And that doesn't even include that incredible run that he had when the Dodgers won 25 of his 29 starts at one point, it was ridiculous. I don't bet him. I don't bet side. I don't bet total. I have not bet a Dodger game with Clayton Kershaw in years, multiple years.
Yeah.
And I'm not planning on betting this one. But from a value standpoint, I would go and look at the Cleveland side. But you'll oftentimes find value going against Clayton Kershaw, and it doesn't do you any good. There's plenty of games on the board. And I'm not a guy that I'm not making 8 bets in MLB on a given day. I'm isolating 1, 2, sometimes 3. I'm not a pepper the board kind of guy in MLB. It's just that strategy hasn't worked for me, and I don't have any interest in going back to that. Right. So when I look at a card like today where there's 15 games, I'm isolating, man. Boom, Dodgers. No, I know I'm not playing that one. You just and you spend your time focusing on the games that you might actually play, as opposed to the ones that you're kind of eliminating a priori.
Right. Yes, and absolutely, Teddy covers. If I do see a bunch of plays that I'm liking enough to make bets, I have no problem having one of those days where I have 8 or 10 or 12 picks or bets or whatever. But you're right. In general, if there's some serious concern with a pick, it's best to lay off. And I guess I'm going to lay off that one, although it does feel like the Dodgers might be a play here, either on the first 5 or on a -1 line. All right, let's see other games that caught my eye. Well, I guess I was also leaning to Baltimore -1. They did cash for me on the second half yesterday. Overall on the year, they have a terrible road record, but in this series, I think that you have 2 teams here that are kind of fades. So I have no problem betting on Baltimore if I want to in this series. And Holland was due for a big regression with his hot start this year. His last 2 starts have been horrible. And will we see another bad start from him here? If we do, I think Baltimore does cash the -1 line. What do you think about taking Baltimore today?
Well, your total's 10.5 in that ballgame, and the money's coming in on the over. You got the weather there. What's it look like at the cell?
I'm seeing just like not any significant weather, maybe a slight wind in, but nothing terribly significant as far as the weather is concerned.
Sure, but in terms of the temperatures, there's a big difference between the 70s and the 80s and the 90s.
Right. Let me just find it's mid-70s.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily great hitter. It's not one of those days where the wind's blowing out and it's 85, 90 degrees and humid. See, Asher to me is a guy for Baltimore who I've seen signs and I haven't had any success with. So he's someone that I'm more inclined to watch and get a feel for than to jump in right now. But I have no argument with a little bit of regression for Holland. But Baltimore as a team, I don't know they're going to make a ton of money with the Orioles.
Right.
Forward. You know, they're not. Well, I'm looking. You know, their bullpen hasn't been as good, obviously, and it's a bullpen that looked elite coming into this season. The lineup hits for power, but they don't really generate a whole lot of runs. And you have a bunch of guys that are not in good form or haven't been in good form, perhaps until yesterday. And Asher's not a guy that I'm in love with. So it's not. I'm not making a strong case for Baltimore either for you.
Right.
For me, it'd be I would look at the over, but it's not a game that I would 10.5 without any weather. I don't think I get to the window there.
Right. All right. Well, that's definitely a lean. I think you're right. It's good that you're here, Teddy, because you're talking me off of some of my impulsive plays that I probably shouldn't be making. Again, my low hanging fruit, which is literally 1 or 2 plays every day, usually just one overall, has an awesome record a year long, including during my downtime. So yeah, I will just stick with Baltimore as a lean. Boston -1 is the low hanging fruit of the day, and it's the only pick that I have given so far. Another pick that's kind of interesting to me and that has surprisingly moved in the opposite direction of the way I'm leaning is Tampa Bay at Toronto. Both these teams right now I think are great. Both these teams are improving. Both these teams have nice lineups, nice bullpens, nice everything. You have Faria against Estrada, and Tampa Bay getting healthy road underdog price here at in the +140s now. I took it at around +138, I think, on the overnight. What do you think about taking a shot with Tampa Bay as a dog here?
I wouldn't argue with that at all. I mean, you know, Toronto's been a team that the markets have been wrong about all year. They were betting on Toronto early, and they were getting wrecked. And they were betting against Toronto, and they started to come back. It feels like there's a little bit too much love for this team compared to what they're actually doing. And Estrada, I mean, he's relatively consistent, but he's no ace.
Sure.
He's not going to shut down. And, of course, the Rays have hit him fairly hard over the years. So, you know, when you have these divisional matchups, sometimes I spend a lot of time looking at batter versus pitcher stats because you have a decent sample size to look at. Is this guy getting guys out in their lineup, or isn't he? As opposed to the broader picture when you start looking at the game logs and okay, this is the aggregate result of all of these games together. In my mind, the batter versus pitcher stats is better when you're going team for team, especially with teams within division. Then you get a real sense of who in that lineup this year can hit this guy and who can't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Estrada has had 2 straight bad starts this year. Usually when he has a bad start, he follows it up with a good start. So now he's had two straight bad starts. Does that mean he's even more likely to follow this one up with a good start? Or does it mean that there might be something fundamentally wrong with him? And, you know, Faria had a lot of strikeouts in the minors. That's not necessarily predictive of his strikeout totals in the majors. But his first start in the majors was pretty decent. I guess I'll hold off on that one, but that is definitely a lean here. Tampa Bay on the full game and Tampa Bay on the first 5 innings, which is also about +145. I saw that one at Heritage. All right, other games that I'm thinking about giving here. Let me just think. Well, I guess I haven't looked into it deeply because there was no overnight line. But Martinez against Peacock, Texas and Houston. A rebound from Houston. Obviously, they lost their last game against Texas yesterday. Texas has now won, I guess, 4 in a row. Right? They swept Washington. Very impressive. Come and get the first win against Houston. But as Texas turned a corner, maybe I still feel, though, that Houston has got to be considered the significantly better team here, right?
Sure, but this is a big price.
165, sure. But Houston all year long has been cashing with those kinds of prices.
No question. But again, we don't want to look in the rearview mirror.
Right.
We only want to look forward.
Yes.
So far, the Astros have been the most profitable team in baseball. Will that continue over the back half of the campaign? Well, they played 700 baseball for extended stretches, and they're not going to play the whole season playing 700 baseball. So the Astros, to me, are not a team, especially when you're laying in this 160, 170, 180 range at home. With a non-ace on the hill. And then one thing with you, I mean, the only guy who's priced. Well, I guess McCullers was priced like an ace, too. Keiko's been priced like an ace. And did McCullers go on the DL yesterday? I thought I saw that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And that is why there is a pitching change and that's, McCullers did go on the DL.
Right, hence the Peacock.
Yes. And what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. First of all, I think Colorado is the most profitable team, technically. Houston.
Are they? Yeah, right.
Yes. But You're right. Houston obviously has been money. Then there are two other home dogs, Teddy. I bet both of them. One moved against me, one moved in my favor. I did take, going back to the Detroit game, I took Detroit at plus 113. Now they're down to as a small favorite, actually, in most places. I also took the Mets at about plus 117, and now they're up into the plus 120s. Wheeler against Leicester. What do you think about either of those?
I want to ask you a question before I answer either one of those. And that's when you're deciding, am I going to bet now or later? What are you looking at? Are you looking at what the leading indicator books are telling you?
When I decide when I'm going to bet?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I always.
Or are you betting at the same time, basically?
No, I mean, I always, if I expect the line to move, which sometimes I do have a good read on, either against me or either against the way I want to bet or in favor of the way I want to bet, then I will act accordingly. If I think I'm going to get a better line later on, I'll wait. If I think a line's going to move in my favor, and then obviously I'll bet it right there.
Sure. But how do you make that judgment? I guess is what I'm asking.
I mean, it's on a case by case basis. Some teams, as like for instance, like the Boston line with Porcello yesterday, or no, not Porcello. Who was it? Who was starting yesterday? I don't remember. But that line, when I jumped on the overnight, I jumped on it because I liked it on the -1 line, but I also did expect it to move the way it did. Now, if it hadn't moved that way, that would have been okay. I would have said I was just wrong. Was it? Okay, right, yeah. And that one did close much higher than where I got it at -199. It's basically a gut. I mean, line moves are definitely gut calls, right?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. There's a strategy for this. I'm not trying to rip you or anything like that. I'm trying to say that you may want to look at this. Okay. Well, if you go to the SBR odds page, right, they have a whole bunch of books on there, and there are books that I call leading indicator books. Right. When their number starts to move, the market behind them is likely to move with it. Right. That's Pinnacle, Five Dimes, Grande. Right. Chris. When you see those four books all pointing in one direction, even a little bit, you know where the market's going to move. That's where it's going to go. Yeah. So when you see those little hints, the market, if you do, again, the first time you do it, you're not going to see much. If you do it every day for a couple of weeks, you're going to see, oh, wow, this is, you're going to start noticing little hints that help you say, I want to bet this now. Oh, I want to wait. I'm going to bet this now. I'm going to wait.
Unless you're betting at Pinnacle, in which case, yeah.
Well, with any, I mean, look, anyone out there that doesn't have at least 3 outs, is putting themselves in a big hole. Yes. I mean, if you're betting only a penny, you're missing out on all the square lines. You know, and there's so many books that have square lines. The SBR pages. When you get the bonuses, you can take advantage of this stuff. And it's not about pimping SBR. It's about talking how people can make more money betting by using SBR. And both the odds pages and the bonus pages can really help in those regards, because you don't want to be working at one book. You want to have a penny account, and you want to have an account at a square shop too. I do feel though that on overnight lines, like the small moves, the small short-term moves at Pinnacle are not necessarily irrelevant. Right. Yes. So when I'm betting on the overnight lines before the market has expanded. Sure. So I wouldn't, if I'm not betting at Pinnacle, I certainly wouldn't use I just trust my own feel. And again, when I make a bet, it's because I think there's value at that line. So if the line does move against me, that's in theory okay. But yeah, no, I definitely also keeping in mind where I think the line is gonna go. Of course, sure. It's an underrated piece of the equation. Yeah. For sure, Teddy covers. So you asked me about a couple games, and I don't even remember what games you're
All right, yes. All right, no, it's okay, people. This is great information, Teddy. Let's see what else is on the card that is interesting. I am also leaning towards the over in Cincinnati, San Diego, even though San Diego, of course, has relatively terrible offense. I've cashed pretty well with some San Diego overs this year, and I'm feeling like I bet that one on the overnight. I got 8. This is the line that let's check what it is now, because I wouldn't be surprised if that moved against me. Yeah, it's about where I got it. It's about 8, moved slightly against me, but Feldman against Richard, two very inconsistent starters. They're kind of mirror images of each other. One a righty, one a lefty. Both can get hit, but more often than not are actually serviceable. So this one might sneak under, but I took a shot with the over on that one. CC Sabathia in the Yankees' next game is an interesting one. Ramirez has definitely been vulnerable this year, and Sabathia has been great. Matty Ice, I know you follow the Yankees closely. What do you think about Sabathia tonight? His last start was even better than his starts before.
Again, I would continue to not bet on him.
Right.
But I also wouldn't bet against him at this point.
Okay.
I'm off, just like you were talking about
Kershaw. Yeah.
It's not at that level, obviously, for very different reasons, but I try not to bet on games that he pitches in.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not bad when you have a guy who you don't have a real, it was inconsistent, or a guy who's pitched really well and you don't necessarily want to step in front of him, but you don't expect that to last much longer. It's okay to pass. You know, that's
more than happy to.
That's one of the biggest edges that bettors have. They got to put up lines for every single game, every single one of them. Full game, half, first half, totals, team totals. We get to pick and choose. If you don't like it, okay.
Yeah.
I don't really like anything today, honestly. Take it easy. My NBA hangover out of the way.
Okay, I'm just reviewing some comments here to see if there's anything funny. I'm sure there was a lot of funny stuff that people posted that I am not that I missed while we were discussing. Let's see. You guys are on air and the lines are moving at Pinnacle. There you go. There. Colorado's been the most profitable team. Yanks hat picks are terrible. Yankees hat picks are terrible. My picks are terrible. Hey, eat me. Blue eyes, white dragon. My low-hanging fruit picks of the day have been freaking almost unbeatable. Eat me, pal. Blue eyes, white dragon. Click off and go fuck yourself. All right, there we go. Let's see. You like that? You like that? That's how you handle a hater, baby.
Well, the whole thing, I don't mind the haters. They're going to hate. It's what they do.
That's how you handle the haters, baby.
No, I ignore it.
Yeah, absolutely. You fucking handle the haters. Some of the Rich Banks saying the Cheech and McLovin show. Oof, 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 oof. Rich Banks getting big laughs from the studio audience with a great comment.
That's
wow.
a funny line.
Ouch. Yes, he called you McLovin.
I know. That's hilarious.
Oof. Oof. All right, so let's see. I can't look at any more other comments, but I told you, Ted. I was like, trust me, there's some funny comments in here. Right.
That's funny.
Yes, absolutely. Skooma Steve says, LOL. Rich Banks says, Pete, you're awesome. Thanks so much, Steve Banks. Rich Banks. Skooma Steve says, get him. Pete. Josh Miller says, preach pistol. Thanks so much to everyone. All right, so Matthias Shermanator saying, Pete is on fire. Yes, I am. Good show today, Teddy Covers. I think I've cut down significantly on the annoying verbal tics. As far as the picks are concerned, we've given a lot of good advice. I've only given one official pick, though. It is the low-hanging fruit of the day. Boston -1. All these other leans, I don't know what to do about them. And the thing is, like, if they all go like 6-1, and I would have eaten a lot of units, because right now I am technically negative in this show, which I don't like to promote that much, but right now I am technically slightly negative, and I'd love to be positive again. So here are all my leans, and tell me what you think about any or all of them. Once again, leaning Tampa Bay as a decent-sized road dog, leaning Baltimore -1 on the road against Holland, leaning the under in Arizona, Detroit with Greinke Farmer. I guess got to be leaning Oakland, Miami, first 5 over, even at 5. Leaning over in Cincinnati, San Diego at about 7.5. And I guess I would have maybe a slight lean towards Houston at -1, even though I haven't looked into that too deeply as of right now, because no overnight lines. And I guess those are my strongest leans. Or any of those you think maybe I should add? What do you think? The Tampa Bay one is tempting, right? But Toronto's just been so good, though. But so is Tampa Bay. That's why I like it. And they crush righties. And Estrada's been struggling.
No, again, your selections, man. You're allowed to pick and choose. Just the fact that I'm here shouldn't change your approach.
Right. Yes.
Do what you do.
I'm just getting some right. I'm just thinking out loud here. The thing with Faria is, though, he's a minor league pitcher, and a lot of times, he was he came up recently from the minors. And a lot of times when you have like a minor league pitcher who had some success in the minors, comes in, gets a good first start in the majors, and then he goes on the road against a tough offensive team. That's a tough start for him. We saw that very recently with Lamet. With that guy Dinelson Lamet, who was great, and then had some tough starts on the road, so that we could see that here with Faria for sure, right? Sure.
There's been, when you talk about the money that's come on Toronto, that's not square money. That's a big move.
Yeah, right.
But that was at a very different number. Now you're looking, with the money that they were betting was at a very different money line than what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
So you're getting additional value on the Tampa side now that you weren't getting a couple hours ago.
All right, you know what? I'll just stick with the Boston -1 pick as my only pick of the day, and also the low-hanging fruit of the day. But I will rattle off once again my leans. Tampa Bay, first 5 and full game. Let's see. The Mets as a home dog, maybe not. Maybe not like that so much. Arizona, Detroit under, yes. Oakland, Miami, first 5 over. God, that is so tempting. That's got to be a pick there, right? God, that is so tempting. That is a very, very strong lean right there. Damn, geez, that is a strong lean. All right,
If it's a strong lean, it's a play.
you think so? You
I
like
don't know.
that?
I don't know. It's
You
your
like
show.
that when Teddy covers. You like that. All right, I know. Now I'm starting to get into annoying territory here by not making a friggin' decision. Make a goddamn
Here,
decision.
I'll get my low hanging.
Okay, go ahead. What's your low hanging fruit?
Rockies. I already said what it was.
Really? Okay. So yeah. So that is still at at plus money. All right. Oh God. All right. I'll throw Oakland, Miami first 5 innings over. Over 5 minus 109. Both Urena and Cotton have been struggling. First 5 innings over 5 minus 109. I'll make that one a play. That is a borderline lean though. I'll make that one a play. Then Baltimore -1 is also a lean, and Cincinnati, San Diego over at about 7.5 right now is also a lean. All right. I guess that wraps it up. The show has not gone on too long. I'm very happy about that. Teddy Covers, thanks for all your thoughts and opinions. Anything else you want to touch on?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys are taking on our free picks and the low hanging fruit every day, which is, as Pete mentioned, cashing very regularly. And that's all I got to say.
All right, that's about it. Thanks, guys, for all the awesome comments. Here we go. A comment here from Daniel Weiser. Teddy's neck could cover any run line. Ouch. Ouch. You don't mind that I just read that out publicly?
No, it's funny line.
The guy's a funny line.
I can handle it.
Ouch.
You're a New Yorker, right? You grew up in New York. I grew up in New York. All
Did
we
you
do
really?
is give each other shit.
Where?
When I was a kid, I lived in Queens, and then
Really?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I moved out to Rockland.
Oh, okay. Did you go to high school in New York?
No, I went to high school in Berkeley.
Oh, okay. Nice. Wow. Yeah. Right on. We're in Queens. Queens.
So when I was a kid, we lived in Rochdale.
Oh,
Which
okay.
ended up being a pretty
yeah,
dicey
sure.
little neighborhood.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been back since then. I moved out of New York.
Very nice. I'm from. I grew up in 2 places: money making and the boogie down, baby. You know what that means? Okay. Money making refers to Manhattan. Boogie down refers to the Bronx.
Sure.
As we know, KRS-One from the Bronx, so that's Boogie Down Production.
Sure.
Is okay. All
Gotcha.
right.
Yeah. It's been a while.
All right. Yeah. Money making and Boogie Down, baby. All right. John Carey says, Pete, when you come into NYC? I don't know. I do have jury duty coming up. You remember jury duty, right? Remember that shit, right?
Yeah, I get jury duty. I get notices every once in a while, and they go. They usually go on the trip.
Absolutely. All right.
Come up with the best way for Pete to get a jury.
Yeah. No, I mean, looking like a scary, psychotic, whacked out motherfucker is not a big stretch for me. So hopefully that's my.
That usually gets you selected on a jury, not the.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. They're like, this guy. We just want as few decision makers as possible. Put our one guy on there. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the trick strategy is, but I'm going to try to have one. All right. I guess let's just
wear like a speedo and flip flops and a snorkel.
Yeah.
Right on.
That just wraps up the show today. That wraps up the show today. Hope you all enjoyed it. I just have 2 picks: low hanging fruit, Boston -1, and at the end I did throw on also the first 5 innings over 5 in Oakland, Miami. That one also is kind of an obvious play. Feels a little bit too obvious. Those guys do both have big potential, but I'm willing to believe that at least one of them gets hit enough for over 5 in the first 5 innings to be a good play. Thanks for all the extremely funny comments, and that's about it. And we will be back tomorrow, right, Teddy Covers? You can be back tomorrow.
I look forward to it.
Great show, Teddy.
Cheers.